Well, today I'm looking at a village that went from being a population of 500 to 20,000 overnight. Truly an incredible story. I'm starting my walk down by the River Wylye, and the River Wylye here at this spot goes on through and goes all the way down towards Salisbury and comes from the Warminster direction. And it is a truly incredibly beautiful place. There's a lot of diversity and everything there. But what we've come to look at is that overnight in July 1916, troops came to the village for training. It was a transit camp, so they came in and out. And the troops were the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. So an acronym is Anzacs. And we're going to follow that now because it's truly incredible to think the population explosion happened overnight like that. Incredible. Let's go.
On the Salisbury Road coming out of the village is the Rising Sun Badge, a prominent symbol of the Anzac Army. And on this side of the road under where the badge is would have been Camp 1 and Camp 2 leading across there, and on this side of the road would have been Camp 3 and Camp 4. So they would have camps built all the way over here, and roadways and everything that went along with that. And if you were in Camp 1 and you were sent to work on the Rising Sun Badge, it was considered to be a punishment because it was hard graft carving away into the chalk.
But there were 15 camps here, and in total 20,000 plus men, all coming into and out of these camps. There was a hospital here as well, and the hospital looked after people coming back from the trenches and going out to the trenches in 1916. So the population of this small village went from 500 to 20,000 virtually overnight. And all the social and economic things come from that. And my thing today is to actually look and see what I can find. See what's left here after all of those years. Codford was called Codford. It was Coda's Ford. So it must have related to somebody, Coda, many years ago. So this is the inside of the church, a proper village church with, like with all these churches, its roots going back centuries. We're so lucky to have these. Back a long way, so we can see this very old stone here, Saxon, I believe Norman stone, that's displayed in the village church in between this glass window. Some quite impressive looking bits there. Look at that lovely work there. A friend of mine, James Baum, would like that. He's a veritable knowledge of all of this type of stone. So I've put my hat on now. I'm going to be leaving the church, and we're going to start with the actual war graves. And a lot of men died here during the Spanish flu pandemic, and nothing to do with war at all. And obviously guys coming back from the trenches as well, but the main thing is that it wiped out over 100 and odd of these poor guys from New Zealand and Australia. And the graves here is the second largest Anzac war cemetery in the UK. So let's go and have a look. And these are the Commonwealth war graves here of the poor young guys which died. And you can see that they're all here, spaced all the way back, kept in very good condition. And the villagers every year hold a service to remember the guys, and it's populated by people from Canada and Australia and New Zealand. Look, age just 21, what a shame. And over here, just behind the cemetery, got this old shed here which was used as a quartermaster stores, I believe. Pub hut after, or a scout hut. Quite interesting. Might be a bit too overgrown looking at that. Look at all this. We can have a look at what remains of the old quartermaster stores here. I'm going to get in there bit by bit. Brambles everywhere. Look around this to think that this dates from 1916. Truly and absolutely incredible, and it won't be long looking at that roof that this is all lost. Don't tell the something or other on the blackboard there. You can see the floors all falling away too. But just an incredible thing. Field here, I spotted some other buildings which I think would have been Camp 9. It's really amazing to see these things, to think we're going back 109 years ago, and they're here. These buildings, horses looking out at me there. So these here would have been old camp buildings here. You see them with the tin one down there as well. I don't think we go any further because of the horse, so that's what those are there, and being utilised now as stables and things like that. But it makes you realise there's very little of things left. So when the troops first came here, they would have lived in tents like this. Amazing. Before it all went over to being huts and things. This area here, you can see all these old cobbles here that would have formed part of the front to some buildings, etc. in Codford. Just up by East Codford Farm here. Well, this is the Codford High Street today. Back in this day, it would have been an absolute hive of activity. You can imagine it was 20,000 people here. There were cinemas and shops and all sorts. And now it's reverted back to just being a peaceful village. We're just walking down from the high street. I'll put some old images on of the way that it looked. And you can see it's quite an interesting high street back in 1916. But a lot of the local girls married and, dare I say it, bred with the troops. So people in Codford have got relatives all over the world. My last thing on the list now is to see if I can find evidence of the railway line. See if we can find that. It came up from the railway station, the station's there no longer, and went all the way around the village, a narrow gauge railway line that was just here for the time that the troops were here. So we'll go down the road about a mile or so and see if I can find any evidence of that. This old building here was part of the narrow gauge railway. Troops got off a main railway station, which was here, which is all gone, and then used this to wait to get on the troop railway, I think, and same with goods and things. And that still remains. So it would have come along this way here and gone over towards that way. I think I'll have a hook in the grass and see if I can see anything. So in amongst the maze of brambles there's actually some narrow gauge track. And I've seen it in the winter, but it's just too many brambles, I'm afraid. But you just have to take my word for it. There's a short piece of narrow gauge track here that came from the railway. So down by the railway line, couldn't find the narrow gauge rails in the bank. I know they're there, but I can't find them. I've had a fantastic time looking at the history of the area. Incredible to think that these people who live in the village have got relatives all over the world. Incredible to think that suddenly, somewhere overnight, goes from 500 people to 20,000. It's like town the size of Melksham moving into a little village. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. And until the next time, goodbye.